The Mueller Report, the play, 10 Acts of Obstruction. This play is a translation of Mueller's Report, Volume 2, Obstruction of Justice Evidence. Mueller's evidence is based on sworn testimonies, documents, recordings, and other objective evidence. The play directly translates the evidence descriptions into active dialogue. One can almost follow the Mueller Report paragraph by paragraph throughout the play. Act 4. Obstruction E in Mueller Report, Volume 2, page 77. Trump's efforts to remove the special counsel. Evidence number 1. The appointment of the special counsel and Trump's reaction. Acting Attorney General Rosenstein appointed Robert S. Mueller III as special counsel and authorized him to conduct the Russian investigation and matters that arose from the investigation. Trump, Hunt, McGahn, and Sessions are conducting interviews for a new FBI director in the Oval Office. Rosenstein and Sessions step out of the meeting to talk.
I have appointed Robert S. Mueller as special counsel and authorized him to conduct the Russia investigation and matters that arose from the investigation.
Okay.
Then back in the meeting.
Rosenstein has appointed Robert S. Mueller as special counsel and authorized him to conduct the Russia investigation and matters that arose from the investigation.
Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I am How could you let this happen, Jeff? The position of Attorney General is my most important appointment, and you have let me down. This is not how Eric Holder and Robert Kennedy behaved. You were supposed to protect me. Everyone tells me if you get one of these independent counsels, it ruins your presidency. It takes years and years, and I won't be able to do anything. This is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. You should resign as Attorney General.
I agree to submit my resignation.
Sessions leaves the meeting. Shortly after the meeting, Hicks sees Trump.
Trump is extremely upset by the special counsel's appointment. I have only seen Trump like this one other time, when the Access Hollywood tape came out during the campaign.
FBI agents deliver a notice to McGahn.
Here is a preservation notice that identifies an investigation related to Comey's termination and directs the White House to preserve all relevant documents.
McGahn issues a document hold to all White House staff.
Here's a document hold notice. Do not send out any burn bags over the weekend while I sort things out.
Also on May 18, Sessions, accompanied by Hunt, goes to the White House to resign.
Here is my resignation letter that states, pursuant to our conversation of yesterday, and at your request, I hereby offer my resignation.
Trump puts the resignation letter in his pocket and asks Sessions several times.
Do you want to continue serving as Attorney General?
I do want to stay, but it is up to you.
I want you to stay.
Trump shakes Sessions' hand, but does not return the resignation letter. Later, Priebus and Bannon met.
Trump is holding on to Sessions' resignation letter.
This is a concern because it could be used to influence the Department of Justice.
And later, Priebus and Bannon talk to Sessions.
It is not good for Trump to have the letter because it will function as a kind of shock collar that Trump can use at any time he wants. Trump has the DOJ by the throat.
We will attempt to get the letter back from Trump with a notation that he is not accepting your resignation.
On flight from Saudi Arabia to Tel Aviv, Trump takes the resignation letter from his pocket and asks his senior advisors.
Here is Sessions' resignation letter. What should I do about it?
Later on the trip, Priebus asks Trump,
Can I have the resignation letter so I can return it to Sessions?
No, I don't have it. It's back at the White House somewhere in the residence.
3 days after return from trip, Trump returns the letter to Sessions with a notation saying not accepted. Evidence number 2. Trump asserts that the special counsel has conflicts of interest. In the days following the special counsel's appointment, Trump repeatedly confronts his advisors, including Priebus, Bannon, and McGahn.
Special Counsel Mueller has conflicts of interest. Mueller had interviewed for the FBI director position shortly before being appointed as special counsel. He had worked for a law firm that had represented people affiliated with me, and he had disputed certain fees relating to his membership in a Trump golf course in Northern Virginia.
Those do not count as true conflicts.
The purported conflicts you state are ridiculous, and none of them are real or can come close to justify precluding Mueller from serving as special counsel. As for Mueller's interview for FBI director, the White House had invited Mueller to speak to Trump to offer a perspective on the institution of the FBI. Although the White House thought about beseeching Mueller to become director again, Mueller did not come in looking for the job. Also, the law firm position did not amount to a conflict in the legal community, and the golf course dispute does not rise to the level of a conflict, and claiming one is ridiculous and petty.
The press reports.
The Department of Justice announced that ethics officials have determined that the special counsel's prior law firm position does not bar his service. Mueller had been cleared to serve.
Trump calls McGahn.
This call is about knocking out Mueller. I strongly believe that there are conflicts. Reach out to Rosenstein about the issue.
I cannot make such a call, and you should not as well. You should instead consult your personal lawyer, because this is not a White House issue. You can discuss the issue with your personal attorney, but it would look like you're still trying to meddle in the investigation. And trying to knock out Mueller would be another fact used to claim obstruction of justice. Your biggest exposure is not your act of firing Comey, but your other contacts and calls, and your ask for Flynn.
The press reports.
Trump requested loyalty from Comey. He also requested that Comey let Flynn go.
Trump publicly states.
I did not. Fake news.
The press reports.
Trump told the Russian foreign minister that the termination of Comey had relieved great pressure related to Russia.
Trump reacts. The press reports.
Comey has testified before Congress about his interactions with Trump before his termination, including the request for loyalty, the request that Comey let Flynn go, and the request that Comey lift the cloud over the presidency caused by the ongoing investigation. Is this evidence that Trump has obstructed justice?
Special Counsel's office informs the White House Counsel Office.
Our investigators intend to interview intelligence community officials who have allegedly been asked by Trump to push back against the Russia investigation.
Priebus, Bannon, and Christopher Rudy, the chief executive of Newsmax Media and a longtime friend of Trump's, meet at the White House.
Bannon and I believe that Trump is strongly considering firing the special counsel and that he will do so precipitously without vetting the decision through administration officials.
Priebus, can I talk publicly about the discussion we're having about the special counsel?
Yes. I hope another blow-up like the one that followed the termination of Comey does not happen.
Later that day, at multiple televised interviews, Rudy says,
Trump is considering perhaps terminating the special counsel based on purported conflicts of interest. Trump is definitely considering terminating the special counsel, and it's not something that's being dismissed.
Trump is considering firing the special counsel.
White House officials are unhappy with press coverage, and Rudy heard from friends that Trump is upset with the special counsel. Sanders speaks with Trump.
Please, give me guidance on how to respond to the press inquiries about the possible firing of the special counsel.
I will now dictate an answer.
Later at the press conference,
while Trump has every right to fire the special counsel, he has no intention to do so.
Trump's personal attorney contacts the special counsel's office.
We have concerns about possible conflicts, such as Mueller's previous partnership in his law firm, his interview for the FBI director position, and an asserted personal relationship he had with Comey.
Rosenstein testifies before Congress.
I see no evidence of good cause to terminate the special counsel, including for conflicts of interest.
Special Counsel's Office informs the Acting Attorney General's Office.
These are the areas of concern raised by Trump's personal attorney.
Then the Special Counsel's Office confirmed with Trump's personal attorney.
Your concerns have been communicated to Rosenstein so that the Department of Justice can take any appropriate action.
Evidence number 3. The press reports that Trump is being investigated for obstruction of justice, and Trump directs the White House counsel to have the special counsel removed. The first public report that Trump himself is under investigation by the special counsel's office. The press reports.
The special counsel is investigating whether Trump has attempted to obstruct justice. The special counsel is interviewing intelligence community leaders, including Coates and Rogers, about what Trump has asked them to do in response to Comey's March 20th, 2017 testimony. This inquiry into obstruction marks a major turning point in the investigation. While Trump has received private assurances from then FBI Director James B. Comey, stating in January that he was not personally under investigation, officials say that changed shortly after Comey's firing. The Washington Post is reporting that special counsel is investigating whether Trump has attempted to obstruct justice.
That evening, at approximately 10:31 p.m., Trump calls McGahn.
What about this reporting that I am under investigation?
You're calling on my personal cell phone?
The conversation lasted for about 15 minutes. Early the next day, Trump makes 3 separate tweets.
They made up a phony collusion with the Russian story, found 0 proof, so now they go for obstruction of justice on the phony story. Nice. You are witnessing the single greatest witch hunt in American political history, led by some very bad and conflicted people. Crooked H destroyed phones with hammer, bleached emails, and had husband meet with AG just days before she was cleared, and they talk about obstruction.
June 16, 2017, Trump makes 2 separate tweets.
After 7 months of investigations and committee hearings about my collusion with the Russians, nobody has been able to show any proof. Sad. I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director. Witch hunt.
Trump calls McGahn.
Remove the special counsel. Call Rosenstein and say Mueller has conflicts that preclude him from serving as special counsel. You gotta do this. You gotta call Rod.
I'll see what I can do. This call is unsettling. I do not intend to act on the request. Other advisors and I believe the asserted conflicts are silly and not real, and we've previously communicated that view to Trump. I've also made clear to Trump that the White House counsel's office should not be involved in any effort to press the issue of conflicts. I'm concerned about having any role in asking the acting attorney general to fire the special counsel, because coming from the Reagan era, I want to be more like Judge Robert Bork and not Saturday Night Massacre Bork. I believe that Trump's request is an inflection point, and I want to hit the brakes.
Trump calls McGahn again.
I mean it. Remove the special counsel. Call Rod. Tell Rod that Mueller has conflicts and can't be the special counsel.
I understand, okay? I just wanted to get off the phone. I'm worn down. He has the impression that I'm going to do it. I feel trapped. I do not know what I will say the next time Trump calls. I must resign.
McGahn calls his personal attorney.
I'm resigning.
Then he calls his chief of staff, Annie Donaldson.
I'm resigning.
McGahn then drove to his office to pack his belongings and submit his resignation letter. Here he talks to Annie Donaldson, his chief of staff.
Trump has called and demands that I contact the Department of Justice. Trump wants me to do something that I do not want to do. Trump has called at least twice more, and in one of the calls has asked, "Have you done it?" I don't want to tell Donaldson the specifics of Trump's request, because I'm consciously trying not to involve her in the investigation.
Trump's directive must be related to the Russian investigation. I will prepare to resign along with McGahn.
That evening, McGahn calls Priebus and Bannon separately.
I intend to resign. Trump has asked me to do crazy.
No, please don't quit.
I'm not going to share the details of Trump's request with other White House staff.
McGahn does not tell me the specifics of Trump's request because McGahn is trying to protect me from what I do not need to know.
I intend to resign. Trump has asked me to do crazy.
No, please don't quit.
McGahn ultimately returned to work that Monday and remained in his position. He had not told Trump directly that he planned to resign. And when they next saw each other, Trump did not ask McGahn whether he had followed through with calling Rosenstein. Around the same time, Trump calls Chris Christie.
What do you think about my firing the special counsel?
Don't do it. There is no substantive basis for you to fire the special counsel. Also, you would lose support from Republicans in Congress if you do so.
Pages 87 to 90 of Volume 2 of the Mueller report outlines the relevance of evidence presented in Act 4 to the elements of the case for obstruction of justice. The analysis includes the principles of an obstructive act, nexus to a proceeding, and intent. The audience is encouraged to review that analysis. The report states that substantial evidence indicates that the President's attempt to remove the special counsels were linked to the special counsel's oversight of investigations that involved the President's conduct, and, most immediately, to report that the President was being investigated for potential obstruction of justice. Before the President terminated Comey, the President considered it critically important that he was not under investigation and that the public not erroneously think he was being investigated. As described in Volume 2, Section 2D, Supra, advisors perceived the President, while he was drafting the Comey termination letter, to be concerned more than anything else about getting out that he was not personally under investigation. When the President learned of the appointment of the special counsel on May 17, 2017, he expressed further concern about the investigation, saying, "This is the end of my presidency." The President also faulted Sessions for recusing, saying, "You were supposed to protect me." On June 14, 2017, when the Washington Post reported that the special counsel was investigating the President for obstruction of justice, the President was facing what he had wanted to avoid, a criminal investigation into his own conduct that was the subject of widespread media attention. The evidence indicates that the news of the obstruction investigation prompted the President to call McGahn and seek to have special counsel removed. By mid-June, the Department of Justice had already cleared the special counsel's service, and the President's advisors had told him that the claimed conflicts of interest were silly and did not provide a base to remove the special counsel. On June 13, 2017, the acting Attorney General testified before Congress that no good cause for removing the special counsel existed, and the President dictated a press statement to Sanders saying that he had no intention of firing the special counsel. But the next day, the media reported that the President was under investigation for obstruction of justice, and the special counsel was interviewing witnesses about events related to possible obstruction, spurring the President to write critical tweets about the special counsel's investigation. The President called McGahn at home that night and then called him on Saturday from Camp David. The evidence accordingly indicates that news that the obstruction investigation had been opened is what led the President to call McGahn and to have the special counsel terminated. There also is evidence that the President knew that he should not have made those calls to McGahn. The President made the calls to McGahn after McGahn had specifically told the President that the White House counsel's office and McGahn himself could not be involved in pressing conflict claims, that the President should consult with his personal counsel if he wished to raise conflicts. Instead of relying on his personal counsel to submit the conflicts claims, the President sought to use his official powers to remove the special counsel. After the media reported on the President's actions, He denied that he ever ordered McGahn to have the special counsel terminated and made repeated efforts to have McGahn deny the story as discussed in Volume 2, Section 2I, Infra. Those denials are contrary to the evidence and suggest the President's awareness that the direction to McGahn could be seen as improper. Act 5. Obstruction F in the Mueller Report, Volume 2, page 90, Trump's efforts to curtail the special counsel's investigation. Evidence number 1. Trump asked Corey Lewandowski to deliver a message to Sessions to curtail the special counsel's investigation. Trump, one-on-one in the Oval Office with his former campaign manager and devotee, Corey Lewandowski.
Can you believe that Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation? Sessions is weak, and if I had known about the likelihood of recusal in advance, I would not have appointed him. Will you deliver a message to Sessions, direct Sessions to give a speech publicly announcing, write this down, I know that I have recused myself from certain things having to do with specific areas, but our POTUS is being treated very unfairly. He shouldn't have a special prosecutor because he hasn't done anything wrong. I was on the campaign with President Trump for 9 months, and there were no Russians involved with him. I know it for a fact because I was there. He didn't do anything wrong. He ran the greatest campaign in American history. Now, to limit Mueller's investigations, state that his jurisdiction is limited to future election interference. Write this. Now, a group of people want to subvert the Constitution of the United States. I am going to meet with the special prosecutor to explain this is very unfair and let the special prosecutor move forward with investigating election meddling for future elections so that nothing can happen in future elections. If Jeff Sessions delivers that statement, I will be the most popular guy in the country.
I understand what you want Sessions to do. I should pass this message to Sessions in person rather than over the phone. I do not want to meet at the Department of Justice because I do not want a public log of my visit and do not want Sessions to have an advantage over me by meeting on his turf.
Lewandowski calls Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
Let's meet tomorrow evening at my office.
Okay.
Later, Sessions had to cancel due to a last-minute conflict. Shortly thereafter,
I'm leaving Washington, D.C., and have not had an opportunity to meet with Sessions to convey Trump's message. I better store my notes in a safe at home, as I always do with sensitive items.
Evidence number 2. Trump follows up with Lewandowski. Following Lewandowski's June meeting with Trump, Lewandowski and Rich Dearborn meet.
Can you pass a message to Sessions?
Sure.
Later.
Are you meeting with Sessions?
Yes, for dinner in late July I can deliver the message then.
Trump has asked me to pass the message because he knows I can be trusted, but I believe Dearborn will be a better messenger because he has a long-standing relationship with Sessions. Also, Dearborn is in the government, while I am not.
Days before July 19, 2017.
Meeting between several Russians and Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, and Paul Manafort occurred on June 9, 2016.
Trump meets with Lewandowski alone in the Oval Office.
Have you talked to Sessions as I requested?
The message will be delivered soon.
If Sessions does not meet with you, you should tell Sessions he is fired.
Immediately following the meeting, Lewandowski meets Dearborn in the anteroom outside the Oval Office.
Here is a typewritten version of the message Trump has dictated to be delivered to Sessions. These notes are the message we have discussed.
This definitely raises eyebrows for me. I do not want to ask where the message came from, or think further about doing anything with it. Being asked to serve as a messenger to Sessions makes me uncomfortable.
Later.
Did you deliver the message to Sessions?
I handled the situation. I did not deliver the message and I'm not going to. I'm not keeping a copy of the typewritten notes.
Evidence number 3. Trump publicly criticizes Sessions in a New York Times interview. Within hours of Trump's meeting with Lewandowski on July 19, 2017, Trump had an unplanned interview with the New York Times.
Sessions' decision to recuse from the Russia investigation was wrong. Sessions should never have recused himself, and if he was going to recuse himself, he should have told me before he took the job, and I would have picked somebody else. Sessions' recusal is very unfair to me. How do you take a job and then recuse yourself? If he would have recused himself before the job, I would have said, thanks, Jeff, but I can't, I'm not going to take you. It's extremely unfair, and that's a mild word to Trump.
I should throw myself between the reporters and Trump to stop parts of this interview. Yet, Trump loves the interview.
Later that day, Lewandowski and Hicks meet.
This is what I think about Trump's New York Times interview. Did you know that Trump requested that I meet with Sessions? Trump has recently asked me to meet with Sessions and deliver a message that Sessions needs to do the right thing and resign. Can you believe that Trump asked me, as a private citizen, to fire Sessions if he would not meet with me?
Trump's call interrupts Lewandowski and Hicks' call.
I am happy with how coverage of my New York Times interview criticizing Sessions is playing out.
Evidence number 4. Trump orders Priebus to demand Sessions' resignation.
U.S. intelligence intercepts showed that Sessions had discussed campaign-related matters with the Russian ambassador, contrary to what Sessions had said publicly.
That evening, Priebus calls Jody Hunt, Chief of Staff to Attorney General Sessions.
Let's talk more about whether Sessions might be fired or might resign.
We have previously talked that Trump will have to fire Sessions if Trump wants to remove Sessions, because Sessions is not going to quit. We have previously discussed that after I met with Sessions, I know that he has no intention of resigning. Yet what will Trump accomplish by firing Sessions? There is an investigation before, and there will be an investigation after.
Early the following morning, Trump tweets.
A new intelligence leak from the Amazon Washington Post, this time against AG Jeff Sessions. These illegal leaks, like Comey's, must stop.
Approximately 1 hour later, Trump tweets again.
So many people are asking, why isn't the AG or special counsel looking into many Hillary Clinton or Comey crimes? 33,000 emails deleted.
Later that morning, Trump, while aboard Marine One on the way to Norfolk, Virginia, Trump talks to Priebus.
I have to get Sessions to resign immediately. The country has lost confidence in Sessions, and the negative publicity is not tolerable. Tell Sessions that I need a letter of resignation on my desk immediately, and that Sessions has no choice but must immediately resign.
If you fire Sessions, we will never get a new Attorney General confirmed, and the Department of Justice and Congress will turn their backs on you.
I can make a recess appointment to replace Sessions.
Trump's request is a problem. I better call McGahn.
Priebus calls White House counsel Don McGahn.
I need your advice. I do not want to pull the trigger on something that is all wrong. I believe that Trump's desire to replace Sessions is driven by Trump's hatred of Sessions' recusal from the Russia investigation.
Don't follow Trump's orders. We should consult with our own personal counsel, with whom we have attorney-client privilege. We both may have to resign rather than carry out Trump's order to fire Sessions.
That afternoon, Trump speaks to Priebus.
About Sessions' resignation, did you get it? Are you working on it?
I will get Sessions to resign. My job obviously depends on whether I follow Trump's order to remove Sessions. I do not intend to carry out Trump's directive.
Later in the day, Trump again calls Priebus.
It will be a calamity if Sessions resign, because I expect that Rosenstein and Associate Attorney General Rachel Brand would also resign, and you would be unable to get anyone else confirmed.
Okay, I agree to hold off on demanding Sessions' resignation until after the Sunday shows tomorrow, to prevent the shows from focusing on the firing.
By the end of that weekend, Trump relented and agreed not to ask Sessions to resign. Over the next several days, Trump tweets. On July 24,
Sessions neglected to investigate Clinton. He is beleaguered.
On July 25,
Attorney General Jeff Sessions has taken a very weak position on Hillary Clinton crimes. Where are emails in DNC server and intel leakers?
On July 26,
Why didn't AG Sessions replace acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe, a Comey friend who was in charge of Clinton investigation?
Sessions prepares.
I better prepare another resignation letter, and for the rest of the year carry it with me in my pocket every time I go to the White House.
Page 97 to 98 of Volume 2 of the Mueller Report outlines the relevance of the evidence presented in Act 5 to the elements of the case for obstruction of justice. The analysis includes the principles of an obstructive act, nexus to a proceeding, and intent. The audience is encouraged to review that analysis. The Mueller Report states that substantial evidence indicates that the President's efforts to have Sessions limit the scope of the special counsel's investigation to future election interference was intended to prevent further investigative scrutiny of the President's and his campaign's conduct. As previously described, see Volume 2, Section 2b supra, the President knew that the Russian investigation was focused in part on his campaign, and he perceived allegations of Russian interference to cast doubt on the legitimacy of his election. The President further knew that the investigation had broadened to include his own conduct and whether he had obstructed justice. Those investigations would not proceed if the special counsel's jurisdiction was limited to future election interference only. The timing and circumstances of the President's actions support the conclusion that he sought that result. The President's initial direction that Sessions should limit the special counsel's investigation came just 2 days after the President had ordered McGahn to have the special counsel removed, which itself followed public reports that the President was personally under investigation for obstruction of justice. The sequence of those events raises an inference that after seeking to terminate the special counsel, the President sought to exclude his and his campaign's conduct from the investigation's scope. The President raised the matter with Lewandowski again on July 19, 2017, just days after emails and information about the June 9, 2016 meeting between Russians and senior campaign officials had been publicly disclosed, generating substantial media coverage and investigative interest. The manner in which the President acted provides additional evidence of his intent. Rather than rely on official channels, the President met with Lewandowski alone in the Oval Office. The President selected a loyal devotee outside the White House to deliver the message, supporting an inference that he was working outside the White House channels, including McGahn, who had previously resisted contacting the Department of Justice about the special counsel. The President also did not contact the acting Attorney General, who had just testified publicly that there was no cause to remove the special counsel. Instead, the President tried to use Sessions to restrict and redirect the special counsel's investigation when Sessions was recused and could not properly take action on it. The July 19, 2017 events provide further evidence of the President's intent. The President followed up with Lewandowski in a separate one-on-one meeting 1 month after he first dictated the message for Sessions, demonstrating he still sought to pursue the request, and just hours after Lewandowski assured the President that the message would soon be delivered to Sessions, the President gave an unplanned interview to the New York Times in which he publicly attacked Sessions and raised questions about his job security. 4 days later, on July 22, 2017, the President directed Priebus to obtain Sessions' resignation. That evidence could raise an inference that the president wanted Sessions to realize that his job might be on the line as he evaluated whether to comply with the president's direction that Sessions publicly announce that, notwithstanding his recusal, he was going to confine the special counsel's investigation to future election interference. Act 8. Obstruction I. In Mueller Report, Volume 2, page 113, Trump orders McGahn to deny that Trump tried to fire the special counsel. The first evidence of obstruction I is the press reports that Trump tried to fire the special counsel. Press reports 6 months after the actual act occurred.
In June 2017, Trump had ordered McGahn to have the Department of Justice fire the special counsel. After receiving Trump's order to fire special counsel Mueller, the White House counsel, Don McGahn, refused to ask the Justice Department to dismiss Mueller, saying he would quit instead. Trump ultimately backed down after McGahn threatened to resign rather than carry out the directive.
Also, amid the first waves of news media reports that Mueller was examining the possible obstruction case, Trump began to argue that Mueller had 3 conflicts of interest that disqualified him from overseeing the investigation. Trump also publicly stated,
Fake news, folks, fake news. A typical New York Times fake story.
The next day, Washington Post reported on the same event and added,
McGahn had not told Trump directly that he intended to resign rather than carry out the directive to have the special counsel terminated.
Evidence number 2. Trump seeks to have McGahn dispute the press reports. Trump's personal attorney calls McGahn's attorney.
Trump wants McGahn to put out a statement denying that he had been asked to fire the special counsel and that he had threatened to quit in protest.
After call, McGahn's attorney tells McGahn,
This is what has been requested by Trump's personal attorney.
McGahn's attorney responds to Trump's personal attorney.
McGahn will not make a statement. The Times story is accurate in reporting that Trump wanted the special counsel removed. Although the article is inaccurate in some other respects, McGahn cannot comply with Trump's request to dispute the story.
White House Communications Director Hope Hicks talks to Trump.
One of your attorneys has spoken to McGahn's attorney about requesting McGahn's denial.
Trump talks to Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Contact McGahn about the story.
Later, Sanders talks to McGahn.
Trump wants you to respond to the Times story.
There's no need to respond. Some of the article's accurate. I see no reason to correct the Times story.
Priebus goes on Meet the Press TV show.
I have never heard that the president wants the special counsel fired.
After Priebus's appearance, Priebus talks to Trump.
You did a great job on Meet the Press. I have never said any of those things about the special counsel.
The next day, on February 5th, 2018, Trump and White House Staff Secretary Robert Porter discusses the situation.
The Times article is bullshit. I have not sought to terminate the special counsel. McGahn leaked it to the media to make himself look good.
Shouldn't this matter be handled by the White House Communications Office?
I want McGahn to write a letter to the file for our records. I want something beyond a press statement to demonstrate that the reporting is inaccurate. McGahn is a lying bastard. I want a record from him. If he doesn't write a letter, then maybe I will have to get rid of him.
Later that day, Porter talks to McGahn.
Trump says you have to write a letter to dispute that you were ever ordered to terminate the special counsel.
The media reports are true. Trump was insistent on firing the special counsel, and I did plan to resign rather than carry out the order, although I did not personally tell Trump I intended to quit.
Trump suggested that you will be fired if you do not want to write the letter.
The optics would be terrible if Trump followed through with firing me on that basis. I will not write the letter Trump requests.
Then Porter talks to Kelly.
This is what was said in my conversation with McGahn.
The next day, on February 6, 2018, Kelly schedules a meeting with McGahn to meet with him and Trump in the Oval Office to discuss the Times article. The morning of the meeting, Trump's personal attorney calls McGahn's attorney to say that Trump is going to be speaking with McGahn and McGahn cannot resign no matter what happens in the meeting. The Oval Office meeting begins. Trump, the White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and McGahn attending.
The New York Times story does not look good. You need to correct it. I never said to fire Mueller. I never said fire. This story doesn't look good. You need to correct this. You're the White House counsel.
I acknowledge that I did not tell you directly that I plan to resign, but the story is otherwise accurate.
Did I say the word fire?
What you said is, call Rod Rosenstein, tell Rod that Mueller has conflicts and can't be special counsel.
I never said that. I merely wanted you to raise the conflicts issue with Rosenstein and leave it to him to decide what to do.
I did not understand the conversation that way. Instead, I heard, call Rod, there are conflicts, Mueller has to go.
Will you do a correction?
No. Trump is testing my mettle to see how committed I am to what happened.
The meeting is a little tense.
Why did you tell the special counsel's office investigators that I had told you to have the special counsel removed?
I had to. My conversation with you is not protected by attorney-client privilege.
What about these notes? Why do you take notes? Lawyers don't take notes. I never had a lawyer who took notes.
I keep notes because I'm a real lawyer. The notes create a record and are not a bad thing.
I've had a lot of great lawyers, like Roy Cohn. He did not take notes.
After the Oval Office meeting concluded, McGahn and Kelly talk.
Trump and I did have the conversation about removing the special counsel.
I have pointed out to Trump after our Oval Office meeting that you had not backed down and will not budge.
Following the Oval Office meeting, Trump's personal attorney calls McGahn's attorney.
Trump is fine with McGahn.
Pages 118 to 120 of Volume 2 of the Mueller report outlines the relevance of the evidence presented in Act 8 to the elements of the case for obstruction of justice. The analysis includes the principles of an obstructive act, nexus to a proceeding, and intent. The audience is encouraged to review that analysis. The report states that substantial evidence indicates that in Trump's repeatedly urging of McGahn to dispute that he ordered to have Special Counsel Mueller terminated, the President acted for the purpose of influencing McGahn's account in order to deflect or prevent further scrutiny of the President's conduct towards the investigation. Several facts support that conclusion. The President made repeated attempts to get McGahn to change his story. As described above, by the time of the last attempt, the evidence suggests that the President had been told on multiple occasions that McGahn believed the President had ordered him to have the special counsel terminated. McGahn interpreted his encounter with the President in the Oval Office as an attempt to test his mettle and see how committed he was to his memory of what had occurred. The President had already laid the groundwork for pressing McGahn to alter his account by telling Porter that it might be necessary to fire McGahn if he did not deny the story, and Porter relayed that statement to McGahn. Additional evidence of the President's intent may be gleaned from the fact that his attorney was sufficiently alarmed by the prospect of the President's meeting with McGahn, and he called McGahn's attorney and said that McGahn could not resign no matter what happened in the Oval Office that day. The President's attorney was well aware of McGahn's resolve not to issue what he believed to be a false account of events despite the President's request. Finally, as noted above, Trump brought up the special counsel investigation in his Oval Office meeting with McGahn and criticized him for telling the special counsel about the June 17, 2017 events. The President's statement reflects his understanding and his displeasure that the events would be part of an obstruction of justice inquiry. End of Act 8.